I was delighted to attach my name to Amendment 227 in the name of the Noble Lady Baroness Young of Old Scone, and Amendment 228 in the name of the Noble Earl of Dundee. And I'd also like to express my support for 228A in the name of the Noble Lord Greaves, which makes a very important point about the need for joined up thinking for ensuring that what's being decided and acted on at a local level is reflected in national action. And I'd also like to very much put myself behind his comments on the state of our SSSIs and the whole area of issues that desperately need to be addressed. But to come to the whole idea of a land use strategy, when I came to talking about this, I started reflecting on how many invitations I've had to conferences, how many reports I've had sent to me, how much work there has been done by a whole range of civil society actors, by academics, by campaign groups over recent years about the issue of how our land is used in the UK and particularly in England. There's a real frustration, determination, understanding of the need for change. And if I just cite a couple of these, I think one of the perhaps most aptly and clearly named, we go back to 2014, the University of Cambridge Institute for Sustainable Leadership produced a report on the best use of UK agricultural land. If we look at ongoing work from what was the Royal Society of Arts Food Farming and Countryside Commission, still doing a great deal of work, exciting work, moving perhaps more to a local level now, but really asking how should we, can we, must we use our land. I'll also point to an excellent report from Dr. Helen Harwood from Harvard University, Eating Away at Climate Change with Negative Emissions, which was presented at an excellent Grow Green conference that I went to. Now, I won't take too much of your lordship's time by making a long list of these, but I'm sure that most people taking part in this debate would be able to add a dozen or half a dozen similar to this list. So there is clearly a real hunger for an overview, a vision of what land use should look like. And if we're to say, how are we as the nation of England going to form a view of what we want our land to be used for, then surely the government has to be the place where that is coalesced and brought together, hopefully in some kind of citizens' assembly, very consultative kind of process, but producing the kind of outcome that Amendment 227 refers to. Now, I also want to, before I comment directly on 228, I do want to stress that what I'm about to say reflects my personal views, and I feel like I should be fair to the Noble Earl and say this may or may not reflect exactly his intentions in placing the amendment. But when I saw this amendment and decided to put my name to it, what I thought of was a brilliant, it's been described as a show, a sing-along, a TED Talk style live event performance called 3 Acres and a Cow. And it actually draws its title from campaigns over land use and access to land in the 1880s, again, campaigns that we also saw in the 1920s. We have a long-term drive in England in particular. We've already seen some fruits and developments in Scotland in these areas, but a long time drive in England for people to be able to get access to land, to start their own small businesses, to produce food for themselves and for others, to get together in cooperatives. And I'd point also to the excellent The Land magazine, which describes itself as an occasional magazine about land rights that often explores these issues. So what we have here are two amendments that really aim to ensure that there's a sense of direction, something that we've heard again and again complained about as lacking from this bill. But I do also briefly want to address the comments made in an earlier section by the Noble Lord Naseby when talking about pesticides. And he said that this is not the year to make dramatic changes. Well, I respectfully, very strongly disagree with the Noble Lord, because elms is a dramatic change from CAP. We are seeing dramatic changes in the climate. COVID-19, of course, is imposing dramatic changes on us all. We are heading in a very different direction from what we've seen for decades. The British countryside is headed in the direction of ever larger farms, ever greater mechanisation, production of fewer and fewer crops, very often with more and more inputs, expensive inputs put into them. We are changing direction. It's really important that we have a sense of where we're going, which is what these amendments aim to achieve. And I just note from looking at the news during the break that the news is hinting at that we're going to see over the weekend a dramatic change in government strategy in terms of obesity strategy. And you know, the noble Lord Viscount Trenchard made reference to the drop in rapeseed plantings, a dramatic change that has come about through the ban on neonicotinoid pesticides. And I would like to very strongly commend the noble lady, the Minister, for her strong defence of that ban. But maybe now, when we're seeing with this a big change in government obesity strategy, perhaps we'll see a similar change in the direction of great reductions in the plantings of sugar beets and some of those fields and the very good soils being preserved by planting vegetables instead. So we are very much in a time of change, and we need some kind of roadmap, some kind of guide, not to be flailing around wildly, not to just say we have a Secretary of State with the power to make decisions, but no idea where he's seeking to direct our so valuable, so scarce land. Thank you.